Well, I did say that farming sooner or later would indeed have its day, and it looks like that day is indeed coming quicker than I initially thought it might. Because yesterday we talked about how a lot of sheep farmers were incredibly worried up in and around the north parts of Yorkshire. They were really worried for their future. Not only just them, but a lot of other farmers for losing the money that they get through the Common Agricultural Policy. And they were basically saying, oh, we do hope the government is going to give us the funding to replace that money. To them, all I say is just look at the new Shared Prosperity Fund that was meant to replace the European Development Fund. It is but a pittance of what these towns used to get. Not only that, they have now been essentially forced to essentially fight it out in bidding wars as to who gets the money, not as it once was, distributed to who needs it the most. And if you think you are going to get that money replacement, or you're going to get anything near the amount that the farmers used to get from that fund to what the new fund is meant to be, good luck. Because I've certainly got a bag of magic beans that I would love to sell you. But today's story comes from the poultry industry, and I think this is very, very key to what we've been seeing going on recently. Not only has Nando's had to shut down some locations because they literally cannot get chicken to their restaurants, so that certainly put an end to the cheeky Nando's idea. And now we are potentially seeing KFC also reaching that same conclusion as well. And what's even more important, this warning comes from the head of the UK poultry industry body. So, before we go diving into that, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And as always, let's jump in to this. So, this comes from Sky News. And the title is, "The Food Industry Supply Chain Chaos is a Result of Brexit," the British Poultry Association says. The boss of Britain's poultry industries body has called on the government to fast-track workers as the sector faces very severe disruptions that have forced restaurants, including Nando's and KFC, to just adjust or outright cancel their services. Richard Griffiths, the chief executive of the British Poultry Council, also blamed worker shortages following Brexit for all the issues the industry that is currently facing. Sky News understands that the group has had contact with the Home Office about the issue, but has not yet received a response. Are we surprised? The head of the North East Chamber of Commerce wrote and said, "Hey, look, industries in this area need help. Are you going to give it to us?" And again, answer there came not. And of course, again, any acknowledgement by the government that these are problems that they have to step in and solve pretty much mean that yes, Brexit is a problem and it is failing. And again, we've said that this year in particular, they are going to do everything they can in their power to try and prove that Brexit is in some way a success and is not having any problems. Because if we can at least go a year without any problems, then maybe next year we can secretly crawl back to the EU and start doing some negotiating on the quiet, and maybe we can sort of have maybe some more normality without it look liking that we've just completely capitulated to Europe. So, he went on to say, "When you don't have people, you have a problem. This is something that we are seeing across the whole supply chain. The labour crisis is a Brexit issue," Mr. Griffiths said. "And the problems have been widely reported across multiple sectors," he added. "The poultry industry is responsible for producing at least half of all the meat eaten in the UK. Currently, the sector is reporting vacancies of over 16%, Mr. Griffiths said. "The alarming number of gaps only is now continuing to grow due to a government that continues to act as if it's in the best interest of British food producers, he says. Limiting the number of people who can come from outside of the UK who are allowed to work in the country, while repeatedly referring to workers in the industry as low-skilled, has jeopardised food businesses and made access to quality British food harder for the people of this country. Mr Griffiths said that the British Poultry Council had called on the government to include poultry meat supply chain workers on the skilled workers list and the shortage occupation list as well, while reducing the unnecessary thresholds on salaries and skills in order to solve the labour crisis. Separately, one of Britain's also largest poultry producers dismissed claims that the industry crisis was caused by workers being told to self-isolate after receiving a notification from the NHS Test and Trace Act. A spokesperson for Akava Foods said that the company was not experiencing any significant inconvenience due to the so-called pingdemic. Our concern is recruitment and filling the vacancies, when the UK workforce has been severely depleted as a result of Brexit. This is causing stress on UK supply chains in multiple sectors, the spokesperson said. The company added that while worker shortages were due to pingdemic would be only temporary, issues arising out of the changes following the UK's departure from the EU would last far longer. We are currently monitoring the situation closely and are putting in place measures to try and mitigate the strain on our supply chain, but this can only go so far, they said. Nando said it has plans for all its restaurants to open again on Saturday after the supply chain disruption forced over at least 45 locations to close. The Peri Peri chicken brand, which operates around 400 outlets across the country, has said also to hit pause on delivery for now, according to a message on its website. The closures also come after rival KFC also revealed last week that it was facing similar problems, warning that some of those problems would not be available and that packaging may look a bit different to normal. A government spokesperson also said that we have well-established ways of working with the food sector and are trying to work closely with them to ensure that businesses have the labour they need. We are looking ways to help the sector and recruit more domestic labour and to invest in automation in order to reduce the reliance on migrant workers coming into the UK. Interesting there, the note of automation, because, again, the government's own investment policy is essentially teaching people skills that might not even be needed in the next 20 to 30 years after the government has refused to even admit that automation is even a thing that is coming in. So that in itself is going to be another problem, but that's a problem for a future government to solve out. They're not thinking long term, as I've always said. This government suffers from very short-termism thinking. And again, the problem that we are facing now is a direct result of that. They could not even think beyond a year or two to think that maybe these problems might just magically go away. But of course, that is, of course, the main problem of Brexit, thinking and wishing that it will just go away if we don't talk about it. And of course, the more and more it is swept under the rug of COVID, the more those bumps in the rug are going to be visible and the more people are going to realise, it's a bit of a bumpy rug we're standing on. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people for watching, and we'll see you all next time.